Welcome back to the Cook's Pantry. Now, I guess everyone's got that idea that soups are just a bit of a winter warmer, but in my opinion, this little miso soup number is perfect even as we approach the warmer months. It goes without saying, and I've said it many times before, the Japanese style of cuisine, it is so simple, so elegant, and what I've got here in front of me is incredibly nutritious and an absolute winner for, as we start to head towards the warmer months. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy a good soup. So I'm gonna be making a miso and shiitake soup. As you can see, not a whole heap of ingredients going on here, but the flavor bomb is in the miso paste itself and really just balancing it out and seasoning it, a little bit of nori, bit of mirin, really quite stock standard ingredients. So I've got a nice big saucepan on here with a litre of salt reduced chicken stock. And the reason why I use the salt reduced is because I'm working with the miso paste, which has got a serious salty kick to it. So we'll get the stock in there and we just want to bring that up to a simmer. The shiitake mushrooms, an absolute favorite of mine. And all we want to do, I just like to remove that little stalk. I find it just a little bit woody. Some of them are okay, but some of them can be a little bit firm. So we'll just take the stalk out of those. When it comes to mushrooms, I think a lot of the time people feel like you need to slice them up nice and fine. With the shiitakes, it's almost taking place of the meat. It's got that meaty flavor to it. So I like to keep it a little bit thicker, a little bit chunkier, and it will maintain texture. So these mushies here, that one's a little bit bigger, so we'll go four pieces, but you want it to have that sort of texture, all right? It's gonna give you that mouthful and something to bite into. And the flavor that you get out of these guys is very, very hard to beat. We've got the lovely enoki mushrooms there, really quite simple. They do come with a bit of a root stock. We just cut that off, make sure it's all nice and clean. So they're ready to go. Again, one of my favorite mushrooms, incredible texture to them, really, really light, a little bit chewy. So I'm a big fan of these guys. Silken tofu, this is really delicate stuff. And I'm just gonna cube that up. Again, I like to leave it at a decent size. When you're eating the soup, you can easily break that apart with a spoon. Okay, so give nice good chunks of the silken tofu. The spring onions. Okay, so the bottom part, we're just gonna slice that nice and fine. So that's gonna go into our soup. This top part here, you just take those top green parts, fold them over each other, and then we just slice down lengthways. It just creates these amazing ribbons. And then what we do is we plunge that into some nice cold water. And what happens is they sort of spring and shock back together, and you end up with this beautiful little spring onion nest, which it brings a lovely flavor, but in terms of a visual appeal for a garnish, it's an absolute classic when it comes to that style of cuisine. So I'll let that sit in there. I'm gonna go in with a bit of the miso paste. So I've got a few tablespoons in there. I'm just gonna gently start to break that up and just go bit by bit, because it's incredibly pungent, incredibly salty. And then just a little bit of mirin. I like just that little bit of sweetness just to balance out the soup. So I'll just quickly hit that with the whisk, break up that miso. Oh, it smells incredible. Nice. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with the shiitake mushrooms. So we'll start to cook these guys through. So we're cooking the mushrooms, but at the same time really starting to draw out that amazing earthy flavor that you get from the shiitake. So I'm gonna throw them in there, just a little bit of nori. So we're just gonna take a sheet of the nori, rip it up. So I'm just gonna let that tick away, let that simmer, let those mushrooms warm through. We don't need to cook them too much, but it's more about drawing out that flavor and really bringing a lot of depth to that miso. When you're making a soup, you're making a curry, or a sauce, you get to that point where you know that going any further or cooking it any longer, it's not gonna do you any better. It's sort of hit that point now where all the flavors are coming out. It's got that clean direction to it. So I'm happy, that's done. The mushrooms are definitely cooked through. And as I said, we've extracted out that flavor and we've got that lovely balance in there without overdoing anything. What I like to do is get a couple of chunks of the tofu in the base there. And because that's a boiling hot soup, so there's enough warmth in that to warm that tofu through without having to, you throw all the tofu in there, especially working with silken, it's gonna just shatter and fall apart. So a couple of nice chunks of the silken in the bowl there. Some enoki mushrooms. Again, these are so delicate. Simply that hot stock touching them is gonna cook them, warm them through, done. Little sprinkle of the spring onions and just a little hit of sesame seeds, okay? So we go straight over the top with our hot miso soup, making sure we get a little bit of nori, you get plenty of those shiitake mushrooms. The smell of that is next level. And then all we need, we've got our little nest of spring onions, sort of throw them down on the board, get rid of any excess moisture. Now, if you wanted to bulk that out to make it a bigger meal, a more filling meal, you could throw in some soba noodles, that'd be lovely, or you could just go hard out on the veg. And like I said, don't worry about winter, miso soup got you covered all year round.